Hello and welcome back. So we have understood the requirement for the third real life integration scenario where you are working for your client Atlas Retail and Atlas wants to build their mobile application and you're given the assignment to build the first two APIs which are the get item APIs, right? Let's start by designing this interface, designing these two APIs before we get started building them. Before we start building the APIs, it's important to design them, right? Doesn't matter how big or how small is your API or your design, you don't have to use the professional tools to design, but make sure you design beforehand, right? You should design how you're going to build this interface before you start building the interface. So to get started, here is your mobile app and it's going to send the request to the API gateway, right? Because we are not exposing APIs directly, we are using the API management to publish our APIs. So your mobile app will be sending the request to the API gateway. Now it can be either of the two requests, right? It can be the get item by item category or get item by item ID. It can be either of these two requests. And then let's assume for the first request, we'll build a logic app and let's call that logic app items by category, right? So if the request is to retrieve items by item category, then the API gateway would internally redirect that request to this particular logic app. And if the request is to retrieve item by item ID, then the API gateway would internally redirect this request to items by item ID logic app. Now, in this logic app, what we are going to do is there is a database. We know the database, right? We have to retrieve items. So the first logic app would call a stored procedure called items by category stored procedure. And the second logic app would call another stored procedure items by item ID stored procedure, right? And then both of them would internally retrieve the items based on their request, and the response would be sent back via the API gateway to the calling mobile app client, right? So this is the high level design. We'll receive the request via the API gateway. Either of these logic apps would get triggered, and based on the logic apps triggered, it would call that particular stored procedure and would retrieve the data and send the response back, right? That's our design. Let's get started. In the next video, we'll start building these two APIs. Thank you.